Welcome back to another episode of I Wish They Knew, a show where we share big ideas that deserve more attention in about the time it takes to enjoy a cup of coffee. I'm Joe Hirsch. Today's wish comes from Dan Ariely. Dan is a professor of psychology and behavioral economics at Duke University and a founding member of the Center for Advanced Hindsight. His work has appeared all over the popular press and in way too many academic journals to list here, but you've probably seen his work in one or a few places. And he's the best-selling author of 8 books, most recently, Misbelief: What Makes Rational People Believe Irrational Things. Dan, welcome to the show.
Lovely to be here, and I have my cup of coffee.
Fantastic. We're going to do this in about the time it takes for you to finish that thing. So what do you wish more people knew, especially when it came to misbelief?
So I wish people realize that we have this machinery that is attacking all of our psychology, that is causing many of us to go down the funnel of misbelief. It's very easy to say, oh, it's them, it's these other people. But no, it's wonderful, smart, intelligent people that under the wrong circumstances can start believing all kinds of things that are damaging to themselves, to their families, and to society as a whole. We need to understand it, and then we need to do something about it.
So there are many causes and conditions that influence our beliefs, right? The kind that you're describing here in the book, the kind of misbelief you write about, can you take us under the hood and explain what exactly is going on here?
Yeah. So, in the same way that the cookie can be thought as a weaponized food that has the right mixture of sugar, fat, and salt to attack our senses and want us to have one and then more and more, this machinery that tries to change us attacks almost all of our psychology. It starts with our emotional system in the form of stress. We'll come back to this. Then it goes into our cognitive system, the way we look at information, our personality system, and then our social system. And the social system is the thing that basically seals the deal. That once people start getting influenced deeply socially, it's very hard to bring them back. But the starting condition is really emotion and stress. And everybody I've talked to has somebody in their close or far away circle that they say, oh, 5 years ago, I thought that this person and me are looking at life in the same way. 5 years ago, we looked at things the same way, interpreted the same way. And now I look at this person, I say, like, where are they? What's happening? What's broken? Well, most likely what happened is that they had a stressful event. Not stress of the type of, I have so much email, I'm not sure I'll be able to respond to it, but the type of, I don't understand the world. I don't understand why I got fired and somebody didn't, why I exercise and didn't get sick. I don't understand the government instructions on COVID. I don't understand the Houthis. Who are they? What do they want from us? I'm stressed over what will happen with AI and will I get to keep my job in 3 years from now? The kind of stress that says, I don't understand the world. And when people don't understand the world, we want a story. It doesn't have to be the right story, but we want a story. And we want a story that makes it clear what is going on. And not only do we want a story, we want a story with the villain. We want a story that we can blame somebody else. And the moment we find this story, we feel relief. Oh, I thought I don't understand what's going on. Really, it's Bill Gates and G5. I'm giving an extreme example, but it doesn't have to be that extreme. But you say, now I understand the world. I understand the world. Everybody I know voted for Trump. How come he didn't get elected? I understand the story. There was somebody who basically played with the machines. I don't understand what is going on. It's all because of gender. It's all because of climate change. It's all, we have stories. And that starts the journey. It doesn't finish it, but it's the stress that want people to give people an urge to find a story with the villain. And of course, the world is providing lots of those stories.
So it's much easier to attribute life's chaos to a villain than it is to our own circumstances.
And to just look. Think about how difficult it is, how difficult it is to basically say sometimes bad luck happens. The reason it's so difficult is you basically say to yourself, will it happen again? Right? If bad things, so our minds are designed to look for order and causal things to avoid bad things next time. So when bad things happen, we are forced to find the story. By the way, when people are more stressed, like when people go skydiving, they see more patterns in random dots.
That's interesting.
Right? Because you have this pressure. When people are in countries that have more violence or more polarization, they see more pattern in random dots. Basically, have a pressure to say, what's hiding? What's going on? What is this? I need to find out. And then we find the story. And then, of course, we have lots of information tools that are playing to that, right? When we say like the cookie metaphor, you can go to network A or network B, or you can listen to podcast A or podcast B. None of us really want to consume information across the spectrum. We want to listen to information that at the end we would say, oh, we knew that all along.
Yeah.
We were correct. Here's another evidence that we were correct, right? It's very uncomfortable. Like I try to watch a lot of information from the other side of the political spectrum. It's very tough. It's very, very tough. For me, it's important to do, but it's not a good way to live. We have these information issues. We have lots of them. I describe in the book lots of information processing biases that we have, and it's very important. Then we have the personality issue.
Yeah.
Some people are more likely to go down the funnel of misbelief. Some people are less, but I make sure to comment that if you don't have those personality traits, you don't trust your intuitions, you're lower in the narcissism score, you don't have, you're not very creative. I mean, there's all kinds of things that help us go down slower on the funnel of misbelief, but it's not deterministic. It's not that you say, oh, that I'll never do it. No, with enough stress, you'll go down.
So
And
even someone who isn't a narcissist and inclined to always think that they're right, they can still fall prey to some of these misbeliefs, even without that kind of a personality profile.
That's right. It just make it slightly faster or slower. And then the last component, the last component is the social component. And
the part I found really interesting.
You mean the rest you didn't find interesting?
I found it really interesting.
Really. How interesting. So the social component, but the first thing about it is to realize how big is ostracism. In this country, if somebody tells you that they're pro-life or pro-choice and you have the opposite perspective, you probably can't hold your despise to them, right? It's like, what kind of a person are you? Like, are you really human? How do you see the world? And, it's very hard to hold it back, but it gets the other side to feel rejected. And rejection is very, very tough. The research is fascinating on how tough rejection is. And then people go and look for people who are like them.
Yeah. So they find these like-minded silos where they are reaffirmed in their beliefs, and they find like-minded viewpoints.
And if we look at ourselves, we have to admit that maybe we thought it was slightly funny or not very severe, but like somebody who's starting to doubt things and question, and they get slight ridicule, they probably experiences a very strong ridicule. And then another component that I want to take a couple of minutes on is what is called shibolet. And I think it's important because of the political issues that we're experiencing.
Yeah, so shibolet is that passage in the Hebrew Bible, right?
Yeah.
For those who may not be familiar, where there were two warring tribes and one tribe pronounced the word shibolet a little differently than the other, and it was a tell, wasn't it?
That's right. So shibolet is a plant. It's like wheat, a type of wheat, and one of them said shibolet, and one of them said sibolet.
Right.
So I would meet you and I say, hey, you, how do you call this plant? And if you say the way I do, you're from my tribe, everything is fine. If you say the way the other tribe does, I need to chase you away or maybe try to kill you. And if you think about what it really is, I show you the plant and I say, what's the name of this plant? But I don't care about the name of the plant, I care about identity.
Yeah, it's a signal.
That's right. So we use now Shibboleth to describe speech that is not about the facts. It sounds like it's about the facts, but it's really about identity. So think about things that our politicians say. How much are they saying things that they believe? And how much are they saying things that are showing identity?
Would you consider that almost like a virtue signaling, or this is deeper than that?
I think it's different because virtue signaling is about the self. So it says I'm vegan, right? It's oh, here are my pronouns. Here's virtue signaling. Shibboleth is really signaling identity. Okay, so it's signaling to other people which tribe we are. Now sometimes you could do both, right? But you can do both in the same, two for the price of one, but it's different. It's identity. When you think about people saying all kinds of things like whatever, their opinions about climate change, their opinions about gender, their opinions about abortion, their opinions about the war in Gaza, whatever it is, how much are people actually saying things that are factual versus how many times people are saying things that it's not about the fact, but it's a very confusing discussion because you don't know what to take out of this. Let's say you hear somebody says X, the elections were stolen. Do they really mean it? Is that what they have in mind? Or are they basically saying, look what strong, proud Republicans we are? It's very, very confusing. So we have a lot of it. And once we start having Shibboleth kind of conversation, very hard to get back from it. It's very hard to make sense.
How do we bring people back to a point where they can actually listen to reasoned conversation? I mean, you mentioned a few techniques in the book, which I thought were very interesting. You don't go so far as to call them solutions. They're, what did you say? Yeah. Helpful and hopeful, right?
Helpful, yeah.
Helpfully hopeful. What are some ways that we can actually create, I guess, dialogue to start? And from there, perhaps even persuasion.
So first of all, let me say that I do think there are solutions. But the solutions are more at the level of regulations rather than the level that we can do individually. So, for example, human beings are inherently trusting. Why are we trusting? Because we grew evolutionary in small communities. And small communities, there were really good reasons to trust each other. So we trust each other. So that's great. But not such a good thing for these days when there's so much information that is fake and misinformation. So there are big things to do. But on the small scale, because we're just having one coffee, you might invite me for another cup of coffee at some point. I'll give you
one. You can
go
back for a 16-ounce venti if you want.
One approach, I'll give just one, is to basically realize that it's not about facts, it's about confidence. That the first thing you want to do with another person is not to say, here's a fact, you want to basically crack their confidence. So I demonstrated it with flush toilets. I said to people, do you understand how a flush toilet works? People said, yes.
Oh, you call this the illusion of explanatory depth, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you say, on a scale from 1 to 7, I really understand it. But great. Here are all the pieces for a flush toilet. Please assemble one. Nobody can assemble. And then I say, okay, so how well you understand it? And people say, not so much. Now, what is this approach? This approach is not attacking people. It's saying, help me understand what you think you understand. You think that global warming is X or Y. Help me understand how exactly. You feel that there's a G5 chip in the vaccine. Tell me exactly how would it get in there. You feel that the elections were stolen. Help me understand this. You feel that Trump is in cahoots with Putin. Help me understand how this, or whatever it is, it's saying, let's go into the details. And often when people get into the details, they say, you know what? I'm not that sure. And it's not attacking. It's coming from their side. You say, for now, I'm buying your perspective. Just help me understand it better. And what you end in doing that is you basically change. Knowledge is here, is low. Confidence is high. And the first thing for discussion is to reduce confidence. And once people reduce their confidence, now they're more open to more information. But the first thing is, by the way, how many times in the last 3 years have you had discussions with people and at the end they said, you know what, Joe, you're really right. I never thought about it this way. You're so smart and clever and I am completely convinced.
Oh, maybe a couple times, but not
There
that
you
often.
go. The thing to do in persuasion is to start with confidence. And there are other things to do. I know we're kind of out of time, but better the psychology of what's going on, we can also design our interventions in a better way.
Yeah, there's a lot more to unpack here, and it is a good place to start. The author is Dan Ariely, and the book is Misbelief. I know that I am eyes wide open as a result of reading this book. I think you will be as well. Dan, thanks for sharing your wish with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.